Hey Cachers, Amy Shadow Dragon 1 here. Today I'm covering a topic that is brought to you by request from a young geocacher who reached out to me. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, but it's hard to tell just by reading sometimes on the geocaching names. Madany Green 2015. So it's either Madden Y Grin or Madany Green. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it right, buddy. Hope you forgive me. But this one is for you and for all the other geocachers out there that might need a little bit of help getting started. So, a lot of these tips are going to apply to beginner geocachers of all ages. I do have some tips for younger geocachers that we're going to say late elementary school to maybe early middle school. So, let's say around the ages of maybe 9 to 14 ish. You're old enough to get on the app and pick out geocaches that you want to try yourself, but you still need somebody to cart you around and drive you places, and you still need an adult to take you places. So I've got some specific tips for that age range. So let's get started. First of all, if you're new to geocaching, welcome to the game. Glad you found it. I am assuming you've already found geocaching.com and you've created a screen name and you've signed up. If not, you should stop and do that now. Okay, so geocaching, worldwide scavenger hunt, played by GPS. When we get onto geocaching.com, you have a free option and a premium option. The premium option lets you access all geocaches everywhere. You have your basic geocaches and you have premium geocaches. Premium geocaches can only be accessed by premium members. All non-premium geocaches can be accessed by people using the free basic geocaching account. However, the app does limit what you can access on that free account. Even though if you go to geocaching.com, you can access all of them. The app limits you. So I recommend if you're using the free basic account style, look in the app and see what's in your area and what you may want to try, but you may need to switch over to the website and pull up the information on the website, which if you're using a smartphone, you can do that, or you can do it on your computer before you go someplace and print out the information. A little bit old school style, but that is a way to access all of the geocaches because the app will limit what you can get to on the free basic account. But on the website, it's all there for you. So that being said, you found your geocache, you're looking at geocaches on the page. What do you do with all this information? Well, here's the breakdown. You have a lot going on here. There's a lot of terms, there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of stuff to learn when you're new to this. So I'm going to go over a few basic terms and a few basic acronyms for anybody new to geocaching that will help you figure out a lot of the stuff you're seeing. So the first term is going to be a cache. Geocache, cache is short for geocache. It's the container you are looking for. A waypoint is a set of GPS coordinates that you can use to locate a cache, or sometimes you may add waypoints to the cache. You can add a waypoint where you parked, or some cache hiders will add waypoints of parking locations near the geocache. It's just another GPS location that is somehow related to your geocache that you can either add yourself or maybe added there by the geocache hider. A muggle is somebody who is not aware of geocaching. Just like Harry Potter, muggles are the non-wizards. In our world, muggles are the non-geocachers. Some very commonly used acronyms, and some of them you're going to hear here. DT, that is short for difficulty and terrain combination, okay? Every geocache has a rating of 1 through 5, and it goes up by half, so 1, 1.5, 2, and so on for both the DT, the difficulty, and the terrain. 1 is your easiest, 5 is your hardest. So you need to keep that in mind when you're trying to pick out what geocache you want to go get. FTF. Everybody wants to get a FTF. That means you are the first to find. You are the first person to find the geocache and to log it and that you found it. Another common term that you will see often used in descriptions of geocaches, GC. GZ is short for ground zero. This is the waypoint that takes you closest to the hidden coordinates of the geocache. When you've arrived at GZ, that's the place where you're going to start looking for the geocache at. LPC, that stands for lamppost cache. It's a common type, especially around here in the States. Something that a lot of people do not know is the little skirts around the base of the lamppost lift up. You have a metal cover that hides the bolts that hold the lamppost into the concrete block that they're posted on. That lifts up, and a lot of people will hide a geocache under there. STF is second to find. We have first to find, we have second to find. Swag. A lot of people love swag. It's stuff we all get. It's the trade items that you can find in a geocache that you can trade out for. We'll talk more about that later. FTF stands for thanks for the cache. You will often see this written in the logs of people logging their find. You have TFTC and TFTH. Thanks for the cache, thanks for the hide. TNLN, another one that you often see in a log. It means took nothing, left nothing. So they basically opted out of trading any swag. TNLNSL, took nothing, left nothing, signed the log. And another one that you will commonly see online is TOTT, and this stands for Tools of the Trade, and that can refer to anything we use to find a geocache, which could be your writing utensil, it could be a flashlight, it could be tweezers. There's all kinds out there. Some people make their own. You can buy them online. Geocaching.com even has Tools of the Trade kits that you can buy to start yourself out with if you don't want to create one of your own. There are several different cache types. The most common is your traditional cache. It's the little green icon that you're going to see in the app. It's some kind of container and a logbook at the bare minimum. Sometimes there's some swag to trade. You have multi-caches, which is very similar to your traditional cache, but the multi-cache is going to make you go to multiple locations before you can find the final coordinates. So in this case, we'll just use a two-step cache as an example. You'll go to the posted coordinates. You'll find a clue, usually GPS coordinates that'll lead you to the next stage. Sometimes there are many stages. Sometimes there's just a few. A lot of times that information will be included in the description of the cache. The mystery cache, that's the little question mark icon. These are a type of puzzle cache. You'll have to solve a puzzle. Typically you solve the puzzle ahead of time. Some of them are puzzles that you have to solve there on site at the location. Read the description. It'll tell you it'll give you the puzzle. It may not be an obvious puzzle. Pay attention to that difficulty rating, because a lot of times the difficulty rating on these caches has to do with the puzzle, not just the hide. You have earth caches. These are the little earth icons. I know that sounds obvious when I say it like that, but these are really cool geocaches. These have something to do with some type of geological feature at the location they are marked. There will be special logging requirements, and those requirements are listed in the description, and the description will typically have a lot of information about the geological feature that the cache is taking you to. Sometimes they get to be really complex on the logging requirements. These are ones you're going to want to check out ahead of time before you go out and try to find them. And you have the virtual caches, which are the ones that look like a little ghost on the icon. These are ones that you will go to. It's taking to a specific location, some type of monument or something really cool typically to go see. And they will have a special login requirement, either having to answer a question like a year listed on a plaque at the posted coordinates, or post a picture of yourself and a piece of paper with your caching name at the location to prove that you were there, and you send that picture, send the answers in a message to the cache owner, post the picture. It'll explain to you what you need to do to meet the login requirements there. And we also have letterbox hybrids. That's the one that has the little envelope in the icon. And we've talked about a lot of these on the podcast before, but the letterbox hybrids are cache that contain a logbook and a stamp, and you use the stamp. You can mark this if you have a book of your own to mark your own stamps in. A lot of people will have their own book that they can mark stamps from the letterbox into the special stamp book they have, so they can keep a record of all the stamps that they have found. Sign the logbook if you have your own stamp. They don't always take you directly to the posted coordinates. Sometimes they take you to a starting location and you read the directions in the description to navigate to the location of the actual geocache. There are a lot more types of geocaches out there, but those are just some of the most common ones. Other ones are event caches, or geocaches will get together and throw events. If you're a kid, you can go to the events. Make sure you have your adult with you. Read the description. If we're not sure if it's a kid-friendly event, send a message to the creator of the event. You can message them directly in the app and ask, hey, is this a kid-friendly event? This is a family-friendly event. And make sure it is a good fit for you to go to. Most events that I have been to are mainly adults. A couple kids will come along with their adults that are geocachers. And most of these are just meet and greets, and they're family friendly, but sometimes they're held at a bar, so you're going to have to be 21 or up possibly to go there. So before you try to attend an event cache, you need to check the details out in the description, message the cache owner in the app if you're not certain, and find out that information. And those are the little red icons with the little calendar signed on them. So now that we've talked some basics of terms and acronyms and cache types, let's talk a little bit more about how you're going to go out geocaching, okay? Anyways, so you've picked a geocache you want to go to. Pull it up in your app or online, and you need to check a couple things. First is that DT, that difficulty terrain combination that we just talked about. If you are new to geocaching, you want to start with the lower DT combos, okay? Even if you've been geocaching for a long time, a lot of geocachers have certain types that they like. Some people just like to get those easier geocaches. They don't want to have to go through the crazy work of a 5.5. It depends on a lot of different things. Your mobility. Some caches just can't do a heavy terrain. Maybe you just don't like really hard geocaches and you don't want to spend an hour trying to find a micro in the woods. There is different geocaches for everybody. One thing to know is that if it is listed as a 1-1, that is meant to be handicap accessible. So if it's 1-1, it should be handicap accessible. If you are hiding a cache and it is not handicap accessible, do not mark it as a 1-1. You need to up it to at least a 1.5, 1.5, but 1-1s are supposed to be handicap accessible. Read the description. The description often has valuable information. Sometimes it does not. It depends on the hide. It depends on the hider, okay? It depends on the CEO, which is the cache owner, which is the person who is hiding the geocache, okay? They'll put different information in there. They may put information such as if you need a special tool to find this, if there is a location to park, if you need to park in a certain area and come from a certain way, they may put that in the description. Read the description every time. Especially if you're going after a letterbox, because a lot of times that's how you find where you're going, is the information in the description. pay attention to the size listing. Nanos are a subset of micros, so if it is a nano, it won't be noted in the size, but it may be noted in the description that it's a nano instead of a micro. So it's another reason to read the description. But you will have micros, smalls, you will have regulars, and you will have larges. Now, what's common in your area is going to depend by area. My area, there's a lot of smalls and micros, but pay attention to the sizes. So a micro, and as I said, the nano subset, these are small containers that will only contain a log sheet. The most common, at least in my area of a micro, and I think kind of all over the place, the most common is what's called a bison tube. It's a small metal tube. It just holds a logbook. It can be a film canister or a small pill bottle. Those are micros. Your smalls are going to be the size of a sandwich box. They have those Tupperware containers that are meant to hold sandwiches. It's about the size of like if you made yourself a 2-slice sandwich. So anything between your sandwich box and your film canister, that is a small. Sometimes it's a larger pill bottle. I've seen peanut butter containers used for this small. Typically a small is going to be enough to hold your logbook, maybe a writing utensil, maybe some small tradables or trackable. Your regular, this is more shoebox size or the size of an ammo can. These are definitely hold trade items. These will have your logbook. Large is like a bigger, like a boot box. Have you seen a boot box, the shoe box that boots come in? They're larger than ammo cans. The original cache was a 5-gallon bucket. So some larges are 5-gallon buckets, or really anything bigger. Those are going to have a lot of potential for swag trade. There is an other category. This is for unusual containers that don't really fit into any of the other categories. For example, one that I found that was listed as an other, it was literally just a magnet, okay? It was on the side of a pavilion. The pavilion had magnetic numbers on it. One of the magnetic numbers you peeled off and it held the logbook in place against it. It was really neat hide, but it didn't fit into any of these other categories. There is an unknown category, and these are ones that are going to be used for if the size of the container was a complete giveaway. That's what the description on geocaching.com says. I'm not sure what that really means as far as anything. It probably has something to do with the area that you're in. But those are the sizes. When you're geocaching, take the sizes into consideration. I don't care for micros that much, especially nanos. I do not like nanos. There aren't a lot of regulars or large caches in my area. So I try to hit for small to regular caches. Large caches are usually pretty cool. I mean, there can be some small caches that are really cool. Let's be honest. The containers can be amazing, whatever size they are. It can be an amazing hide or amazing location. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting to trade swag, look for those larger containers if possible. You're not going to be able to trade swag in a micro. So keep that in mind when you're trying to choose what geocache you're looking for. If you're an adult who's planning on geocaching with young children, kids typically like to trade swag. So you're going to want to look for those larger geocaches. If you have trackables that you want to drop off in places, and we'll talk about trackables a little bit more in a minute, You're going to need a bigger container to drop them in. You're not going to be able to place them in a micro. So you need to keep that in mind when you're trying to decide what geocaches you want to find. Okay? When you get out there, you find your geocache, sign the physical logbook that's in the geocache. And you're also going to want to go online in the app or on geocaching.com and log it as found as well. When you log it as found online, it lets the owner know that people are finding it, and it adds a little smiley face to your app for that geocache that you found, and it adds one to your find count. Log it, replace it as you found it. Okay, don't try to hide it better. Put it back where you found it. If it looks like it's not hitting correctly, what I have done, because I have come across this before, because I have found geocaches where the container was missing and it was a log sheet in a bag, and that didn't seem right. I left it as it was. I took a picture of it and I sent it to the cache owner, messaged them in the app. On the cache page in the app, there's a message button that'll send it directly to the cache owner. I sent a message saying, hey, this is about this cache, and gave them the cache ID and sent them the picture and explained, I don't think this is right. Here's what I found. I left it as is. So if something doesn't seem right, I recommend you do that. Message the cache owner, let them know. Because that way they can go out and they can perform maintenance on the cache and get it back to what it needs to be if something is wrong. So that is an important thing. When you're trying to find the cache that's right for you, picking out your type of cache that you want to find, one of the things I forgot to mention, check the attributes that are listed on the geocache. When people hide a geocache, they have a list of attributes they can select that'll tell you more information about that area and about that geocache that you're going to go find. It'll tell you things like if there are restrooms nearby, if it's a long hike, if it's a short hike to get to it, if there's poisonous plants or animals potentially in the area, if pets are allowed, if strollers can access the area, if it's kid-friendly. There is a kid-friendly attribute. If you're geocaching with kids, or you are a younger cacher, if you're a kid trying to pick out a geocache that you want to go find, look for that attribute, because if it's kid-friendly, it should be something that fits you. Okay, but there are all kinds of other attributes. You're going to want to look, because there are some that may say recommended at night or UV light required. They may tell you if there's a special tool that you need to find the geocache. So check the attributes, read the description, check the size, check your difficulty and terrain ratings. Something else you may want to do before you go out and find a geocache, check that geocache for its most recent activity. Especially if you are newer, if you want to make sure a cache is there, see when it was last found. If it hasn't been found for 6 months and you're new to geocaching, you may not want to go find that one versus one that was found, say, 2 days ago. And the whole point of this is, if it's found within the last couple days, you know the cache is there. It has been found recently. It's most likely still at the location. So that would be one to be good to go find versus one that hasn't been found in a year or more, which there are geocaches out there that have not been found for years. They're called lonely caches. When a cache has been unfound for a year or more, it becomes a lonely cache. And there are still ones out there that are not archived. So you want to check that activity. You may even want to read the find logs for people. I have noticed things before in find logs that say something like, coordinates appear to be off. That lets you know you're not going to be right at ground zero. I have seen ones that says, container does not match description. I have had that happen to me where I have been going to find a regular or large size cache to find it has been replaced with a much smaller container, but the details in the cache page were not updated. You may also find notes about maintenance is needed, or the log was soggy, we couldn't sign it. You may find notes from the cache owner saying, checked it, in good condition, all good to go. You may find comments from reviewers about, we are going to archive this if you don't come out and check your geocache soon because it has been marked as need maintenance and hasn't been attended to for so many days. If you're trying to find a geocache, you probably don't want to go to one that has been marked as needs maintenance. If it has a lot of DNFs, which stands for did not find, it could either be really hard or maybe the container is missing and the cache owner needs to go check it out. So you want to check out that activity, especially if you're newer to geocaching or you're geocaching with kids or just really anybody, because personally, I've been doing this for several years. I don't want to necessarily go out and spend a bunch of time looking for a geocache that the last 5 people weren't able to find, and it's a difficulty too. If you don't find the geocache, even if it's a 1-1 and it has been marked as found by the last 10 people, mark it as did not find. Because if it is missing, something could have happened to it between the last person finding it and you finding it. Or maybe it's just really hard and the owner needs to change the difficulty rating, because that has happened before. I have seen people say this is a lot harder than we expected the rating to be. And if somebody has marked it as a difficulty 2 and nobody can seem to find it and the cache is still there when they go and check on it, they probably need to update that difficulty rating. So it is important to log your did not finds as well as logging your finds. If you want to find a really cool cache, favorite points are a great way to do these. Favorite points are given to premium members. For every 10 finds you complete and log, you're given 1 favorite point. So if you have found 500 caches, you have earned 50 favorite points. Favorite points can be assigned to a cache that you thought was great for whatever reason. You absolutely loved it. Okay, it was an amazing place. It was an amazing container. It was a really clever hide. For whatever reason, people love this geocache, you give it a favorite point. If you are looking, especially in a new area, if you're traveling and don't have a lot of time to go find a whole bunch of geocaches, maybe you just want to get something really cool in a new place, check those favorite points. If it has a lot of favorite points, it's probably going to be something really neat there, whether it's the container, whether it's location. There's something about it that's going to be really cool. So check out the favorite points. And if you have accumulated your favorite points, make sure you use them, because if you just really love that geocache, give it a favorite point so others will see that people like it and bring people to it. Okay? So use your favorite points as well as look for high favorite points. Okay. Here's some tips for when you're at the site looking for the geocache. Okay? First of all, geocaches can be high and low. They can be on the ground. They can be up in trees. Sometimes it's in the description. There is a hint on the geocaching page. Sometimes the hint will tell you up or down or whatever. The hint is there for a reason, to make it easier for you. Some people don't like using the hints. I don't know why. I like the hints. But geocaches can be high and low. So if you're a kid, younger person geocaching with, or maybe just a short person geocaching, keep in mind when you read a description that says at shoulder height, that's going to probably be shoulder height of the person who hit it. Maybe not your shoulder height. Your shoulder height might be lower or taller than somebody else's. So keep that in mind. You may need a taller person to geocache with you to help you get those higher places, or you might have to have a special tool like a grabber or something to get a geocache that's higher up that you may not be able to reach. So keep that in mind as well when you're out there looking for the geocache at the site. Search high and low. Look for something that seems out of place. Okay? Nature does not form perfect rock piles. It does not form perfect stick pyramids. They could be there because somebody was just messing around, or it could have a geocache hidden underneath it. Look for something out of place. Okay? If you're out in the woods looking for, in a park, in a wooded area, tall grass, you may notice a path heading in and out of the area. That might be a common path that geocachers use, especially if it's one that's visited often, which is one of the reasons you want to look at the activity on it. If it's one that's found quite frequently, there may be a path kind of leading in the direction, which will give you easier access to ground zero to look for it, not necessarily take you directly to the geocache, but it may help you avoid thorn bushes. It may lead you into thorn bushes, let's be honest. Geocaches are never buried. You will not have to dig for a geocache. That being said, I have found a couple that are not buried, but placed in the ground in a way that I found one, okay, and it was in a shopping center, a strip center, okay, and you had the little edge at the sidewalk, kind of like the little garden area where they had some plants and some rocks and stuff, and in the ground was a PVC pipe with a lid on it. It looked like a clean out. You actually opened the clean out lid, and inside of the PVC pipe was a peanut butter container. So it was not buried, even though it was in the ground, but you will never have to dig up for, or you should never have to dig for the geocache. Okay? If it's hidden properly, you will not be digging for it. Keep that in mind. One thing that you need to know, GPS, while it is highly accurate, does have some error to it. It has plus or minus 15 feet, but plus or minus 15 feet means that from that posted coordinate, you have a 30-foot radius all around you where you could actually be finding the geocache if the accuracy of your GPS is off for some reason, or if the accuracy of the person hiding it, if they were hiding the geocache and their GPS accuracy was off for some reason. Dense tree coverage can cause GPSs to bounce around. High cloud activity, if it's very cloudy, that can cause some GPS accuracy issues as well. So there are things that can make a GPS bounce around a little bit. If you're at a location and the GPS just seems to be kind of bouncing around all over the place and you can't really figure out where you're supposed to be looking, what I recommend is just stop, set your phone down. Maybe you have a bag, or maybe there's a stump or a rock. Set your phone down. Don't even hold it. Just set it down so that way you're not moving around and wiggling it, because every time you move that phone or that GPS unit, it is trying to calibrate where it's at. So just set it down and let it settle and kind of walk around that area and know that where your phone is at when you get to that GC, that is the center of your 30-foot diameter circle that you were searching within if your GPS is bouncing all around like crazy. So trackables, let's talk about trackables because we mentioned that already. These are game pieces. They're movable game pieces that cachers move around from geocache to geocache. You do not keep them. Move them. A lot of times these are dog tag shaped. They can be coins. They can be different shapes. Sometimes people take the codes and they will make a proxy, and which could be a keychain type thing or a block of wood or whatever. But it'll have a code that you go to geocaching.com and you can log the trackable code. You can also do it in the app. And when you log the code, you pull it up, it'll give you different options. It'll have a description of what the trackable item is. The owner of the item may put some information on there, like a goal of what they're trying to do. It may be trying to get to a certain location. They may just want to see certain types of things or pictures. Read that goal information, and there'll be different logging types. You can log it as discovered. You can log it as you grabbed it. So discovered is you saw it, you logged it, you chose not to take it with you. When you grab it, you're taking it, you have committed to moving this trackable along some way, somehow. There is a dip option. The dip option can be used if you have taken possession of the trackable and you are moving to a different geocache. You can mark it as dipped, which means it has visited that geocache, but you're not placing it in the geocache. And what this does is when you go on to geocaching.com and look, there is a map that you can look at that will show all the different geocaches that it has visited. So if you dip it, let it visit a geocache, it'll add that to the map. It creates a really cool map of all these different pins of the geocaches that it's been to, either been in, dropped at, or visited. It's really cool. Whenever you discover it, or dip it, or drop it, there's even a note option. You will write a log, just like when you find a geocache, there's a log, and you even have an option to add a photo to it. So, let's talk to my younger cachers directly for a minute. I may sound like a paranoid grown-up, okay, because I am also a parent, and I'm probably going to repeat some of the stuff that all of your parents have said, and I know it's annoying because you've heard it 10,000 times. That doesn't mean it's not valid. Let the grown-ups say the annoying thing for the 10,001st time and nod and accept it, and everybody's happy when it's over with, okay? Because this app and website has a messaging feature, you need to remember to practice internet safety, okay? If strangers are messaging you, you need to talk to an adult, first and foremost. Now, it's one thing if you've hidden a geocache and they're messaging you about the geocache. That makes sense. If you are getting random messages from people, talk to an adult. Practice internet safety. Plan your geocaching with your adult. Maybe your adult is a geocacher. Maybe your adult is not a geocacher. Maybe you learned about geocaching through Scouts and your parent or guardian or whoever your adult is not into geocaching, but you're going to need them to give you a ride. You need to plan these geocaching finds with your adult, whoever they may be, okay? Because they're the ones lugging you around. If you have some friends that geocache that are your age, see if they can go with you. But remember, you have to have your adults coordinate these with their adults, okay? And remember, like I said before, check the attributes, check the difficulty and terrain. Make sure it fits your mobility level, your skill level, okay? There are a whole bunch of different Facebook groups out there. You can look for Facebook groups that are for kids, okay? That are maybe helping with kids. There's a Geocaching 101 Facebook group that is for everybody. It's a great place to ask questions and stuff, and I've always been met with respect on there. But again, please practice internet safety. Make sure it is okay with your adults before you get on social media. Be safe, okay? Okay. So let's talk about general safety when you're geocaching, all right? If you are geocaching by yourself, or even if you're geocaching with others, make sure somebody who is not going with you knows your plan. This is if you're geocaching, hiking, fishing, really anything. Make sure somebody who is not with you knows your plan. So if something happens to you, they know where to start looking for you. Okay, and this is for everybody, adults, teenagers, groups of kids. Make sure somebody knows what your plan is in case you fall and break a leg and can't get to help. Your car breaks down on the side of the road and you don't have cell service. Make sure somebody knows where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there. Have a plan, okay? Check the weather before you go out, okay? I live in the Midwest. The weather can change like that in an instant, okay? Because the way all the pressure fronts come through. Check the weather. Now, granted, the weatherman is not always going to get it correct, but get an idea of what the weather is supposed to do before you go out and plan appropriately for that, okay? Dress appropriately. If it is winter, take a freaking coat. Maybe you run hot. I don't know. I freeze. But dress appropriately for the weather and the heat. But also dress appropriately for the area that you're going to be in, because it may be hot out, but if you're bushwhacking through the woods, you probably don't want to be in shorts. You probably want jeans or long sleeves, okay? But you can get lightweight pants and shirts to protect you as well, okay? So let's dress appropriately, check the weather. Make sure you have water, okay? I don't care if it's winter. I don't care if it's summer. Water is important. You can get dehydrated in the winter just like you can get dehydrated in the summer. Maybe you're just hiking around the park. You're not even out in the woods. You're just walking around the park. There's not always a working water fountain. Take water with you, okay? Don't forget sunscreen. The sun will still burn you even in February if you're in the northern hemisphere, and even in July if you're in the southern hemisphere. The sun still burns you in the winter, okay? There's also wind burn. So you need to keep this stuff, just basic outdoor care for yourself. Remember your bug spray, especially in the woods. Ticks have a lot of diseases. Lyme disease is very serious if you get it, or just pesky mosquitoes that you don't want to deal with. And big thing, especially if you're in the woods or even if you're in an urban area, don't stick your hand into a hole that you can't see into. Okay? Spiders are everywhere, even in drain pipes. Don't just shove your hand into a dark crevice that you can't see, okay? Use a flashlight to illuminate the area if possible. If you have a mirror, try to use the mirror to look into a drain pipe or something like that before you shove your hand up there and get bit by a brown recluse or a black widow or whatever poisonous spider is in your area. Don't just shove your hand into a stick pile, because guess what? Snakes like those little stick piles. It's their little houses. If somebody was just barging into your house, you wouldn't be very happy. Snake's not going to be very happy if you barge into their house, and they are likely to bite you. It may not be a poisonous snake, but it's still a bite that you're going to have to deal with to make sure it doesn't get infected, even if it's a non-poisonous snake. So, if you're in the woods, there are sticks all over the woods. Get a stick and kind of root around into that little cubby hole, hidey hole first. Make sure you don't get bit by something, okay, people? I know all of this stuff sounds like common sense, but let's face it, common sense is not that common anymore these days. So use some basic outdoor safety. And if you're geocaching with your pets, make sure you keep their safety in mind too. They also need water. Collapsible dog bowl to let them drink out of. In the winter, their little feet get frozen too. Or the summer, if they're on pavement, that can burn their feet. Their little pads too can also burn. Keep this in mind when you're geocaching with your pets. And when you're geocaching with your kids, keep it in mind too. They have a limit on what they can do. Adults have a limit as to what they can do. Know who you're geocaching with, what their limits are. Okay. Let's talk about writing good logs for a minute here, okay? I have had logs on some of my geocaches and trackables that are out there in the world that may just be TFTC, thanks for the cache. Pretty short. I've had just a period for the log, because when you log a geocache in the app or online, you're required to put at least one character in there minimum. So some people will just put a period in there to log it. I have literally had one that was just a space. The log was blank, so they had to put a space in there to be able to log it and meet the character requirement, because a space counts as a character. And you know what? When you've spent a lot of time making a really great container or perfecting the perfect hide, it's kind of annoying to get a log that has no effort or thought in it, okay? Now, do I hate if the log is just TCT or TFTC? No, it's fine. You found it. Great. But a little bit of thought in your logs can mean a lot to the cache owner. Just a couple of lines. When I get a log on my geocache that says this was found, and it's got a couple of lines that say something like, beautiful day out here, geocaching with the family, didn't know this park was here, thanks for bringing us. I think that's awesome. Just a couple of lines. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even on trackables. Was attending this event, discovered this with so-and-so, thanks for sharing your trackable in the world. Or something. Just something simple. A couple of lines. It doesn't have to be crazy. Quite often when I find a geocache, especially if you're typing in the app, some of us do not want to type novels into these logs on a phone. All right. If I sit down on the computer, I don't mind typing a little longer, but usually I'm logging in the app. I don't want to write a novel, but I'll say something like, out geocaching with my husband and son today. Weather is beautiful. This was a neat location. Or it could be on the way home from traveling from a different state or whatever, on my way back to Missouri from Indiana after spending time with family, stopped for a much needed break, found this geocache. It doesn't have to be your life story. It can be. There can be a crazy long log. If you had an amazing adventure getting to the geocache, heck, tell the cache owner about it. They'd love to hear it. Okay? Let's just put just a little bit of thought into our logs when we write it. Pictures are amazing. Add a picture of you and your friends or family. Add a picture of a really cool flower that you found on the way there or something. It doesn't even have to be at the geocache. It can be something you saw along the way to it. Be like, hey, took this picture of this really neat looking tree on the way here, thought it was cool, thanks for the cache. It can be that simple. Do not put spoilers in there though, okay? Do not take a picture of the hide and the exact location and post it in your find, okay? Don't post spoilers. There are even some geocaches out there that will say in the description, logs with spoilers will be deleted. Okay? So keep that in mind. Don't post spoilers. Put a couple lines out there. Put a little thought and effort into it. Write a few things. It can mean a lot to the cache owner because these people have spent time. Quite often they've spent money. Even if it's just a little bison tube that they hit out there, so they had to get the bison tube from somewhere, okay? That had to be bought or given to them, or somehow they obtained that bison tube. They had to find the location to hide it. They had to obtain permission for the location to hide it. They had to submit the cache page. It had to go through review. They may have had to go back and forth with the reviewer to get all the information right in there. It takes time and effort even for simple hides. So just a little bit of effort in your find log can actually show a lot of appreciation to the cache owner. So just keep that in mind. And again, if you find the cache or the location to be absolutely amazing, when you're submitting your find log, there's a little heart icon down there in the corner. You can click that and add a favorite point to the geocache that you have found, okay? let's talk about your kit, okay? Your kit, usually your bag or whatever, is what you take with you when you find your geocaches, okay? Bare minimum, what you need is a writing utensil, pen, pencil, Sharpie, your choice, and your GPS device. That is the bare minimum you need to go geocaching, okay? Get started, that's it. Now, if you do this for a while, you may accumulate a few items. It is always good to have a spare writing utensil. Pencil lead breaks, pens and markers die. Have a spare writing utensil, okay? It is quite often a good thing to have some spare paper with you because the log may be completely full and may not have a place for you to write, or the log could get wet and mushy and make it difficult to write as well. Those are good things to have. Eventually, you'll accumulate additional TOTTs, tools of the trade. You may need tweezers if you decide to go after those nanos and certain micros. You need tweezers to get the log out of the teeny tiny containers. You may need a flashlight. I have a little telescoping mirror that I like to use if I'm trying to look up a drain pipe or something before I shove my hand up there where I can't see. Okay, there's all kinds of things. Like I mentioned before, if you get on geocaching.com, they have some starter kits that you can buy with different tools that you may not have thought of. I have a bag with all kinds of stuff in it. I haven't used half of it, but I absolutely love that I have it, and I take that bag with me whenever I go out geocaching. I've got a small first aid kit in there. I've got multiple flashlights and spare batteries in there. I've got multiple writing utensils, extra paper, my swag, any trackables that I may want to drop off, all kinds of things, okay? I've got a UV flashlight. I have not yet used it, but I've got it for geocaching. It's in that bag. Part of the hobby can sometimes just be collecting more for your kit, okay? That can be fun to just do too, okay? But at the very minimum, writing utensil, GPS, maybe take some extra paper with you, okay? And you will build your kit as you go. If you want some ideas for what to include in your kit, get on a Facebook group and say, hey, building my kit, what should I put in it? And see the hundreds of comments you get about the type of flashlight you need, or the perfect writing implement, or the wild off-the-wall things that people get. A cotter pen is actually really good for rolling up little tiny logs for those micros and nanos. Okay? You could get it at the hardware store for a couple cents. If you don't know what a cotter pen is, Google that, okay? You can actually get log rollers from people who make decorative ones. I think there's some on geocaching.com even, or you could probably get them on Etsy or wherever. There's all kinds of things out there for geocaching tools that you can use, okay? Because there's all kinds of hides out there. That's the thing. If you can imagine it and create it, it can be a geocaching hide. As long as you can get permission to locate it where you want to, okay? What I love to do is trade swag. I have a lot of fun with swag. Stuff we all get, those trade items, okay? They're little trinkets. Think of like little party favors, okay, that you might get in a favor bag from birthday party. Little slap bracelets or bouncy balls or tiny little like G.I. Joes, something like that. That stuff makes great swag. So if you're a kid or you have a kid who is cleaning out their room and has a bunch of these little tiny toys that they don't want anymore and want to get rid of, or like at Halloween and stuff, you see these great little, like, they're shaped erasers. You'll have Halloween, it'll be an eraser shaped like a bat, or a little plastic ring shaped like a Christmas tree at Christmas. Those make great swag items, okay? They really do. So if you're cleaning out your room and you find these little trinkets in good condition and you don't want them anymore, put them in a bag, take them geocaching, trade them out. It makes great trade items, okay? You can also make your own swag, and I really enjoy making my own swag. My favorite swag to make is a Shrinky Dink, okay? I'm an 80s baby, 90s child. I grew up with Shrinky Dinks. For that younger generation out there that has no idea what I'm talking about, It is like a plastic sheet of paper. Okay, it's a sheet of plastic. Some of these came, you used to be able to buy kits where the shrinky dinks would come pre-shaped, but you can actually just buy the sheets of paper on Amazon. Draw with a marker, or you can use a colored pencil even. Make a design, draw a picture, cut it out, put it in the oven for just a few seconds, or not, for a few minutes, and it goes from the size it was and shrinks it down by 90%, okay? And then you get this tiny little version of the baseball you drew or the butterfly you made or whatever. And it's really fun. I just love watching them shrink in the oven. I will turn on the oven light and watch through the door and watch them shrink down because I think it's a lot of fun. And it only takes 2-3 minutes for them to shrink down. Painted rocks. Paint some rocks. Seriously, you can just take rocks, paint them a bunch of different colors, sprinkle them with some glitter, get some flat stones, paint bugs on them or something. Painted rocks are so fun to make and so fun to find, okay? So paint some rocks. You can even get a clear coat spray in like a spray paint can, so adult is going to have to purchase this. And then you can spray the clear coat over the rocks to protect what you painted on there, okay? They're really fun to do. One of the things that I like to do is that you can get these decorative glass stones, okay? You can find them like in the crafting section or home decor section. A lot of times you see these little glass stones and like vases and stuff. You can get them different colors. I like to get the clear ones, and I will get Mod Podge, which is a type of glue that comes in like a little can. You open it, you can use a paintbrush to paint it on. I like to paint some Mod Podge onto these glass stones. I will dip them in glitter. I will let the Mod Podge dry, okay? Once it's dry, I will put another coat over the glitter because it dries clear, and that will help keep the glitter held in place. And I make these little decorative glitter stones, as I like to call them, and they're fun and simple things to make, and they're simple to find. And then I get tiny little jewelry bags, and I will put the stones in the little jewelry bags and hide them in, trade them in for swag and geocaches. I've seen online where people take these glass stones and they take the tiny little googly eyes and they use hot glue and they glue the little googly eyes onto the stone and make like a little pet rock. And you can even paint a little smiley mouth or paint a little beak like it's a little bird and make some swag like that. It's really fun. You can get on Google and Google ideas or look on Pinterest and look for just some simple, fun, homemade swag ideas. I've made keychains from beads or bracelets with beads and string. There's a lot of simple, kid-friendly, fun things to do. If you have a hobby that you like to do outside of geocaching, like there's those little kits you can make to make those little carabiner keychains. Stuff like that makes awesome trade items. It makes awesome swag. So keep that in mind if you like to create things like that. It can be great swag. There are a few rules when trading swag. Trade for something of equal value, okay? Or lesser value. Leave something greater value than what you take. Equal or greater value than what you take, okay? If there is like the super cool action figure in there, okay? And you have a little baddie racer, those aren't exactly an even trade. Does that make sense? Okay? So you want to trade evenly, or if, say, you have the action figure and you really like that baddie racer, you can trade the action figure for the baddie racer. You can trade a higher value item for a lower value item. And we call that fair. We call that even. So even, or, that's just a nice etiquette, a nice consideration to do. You don't want to necessarily take, like the coolest, biggest piece of swag and leave a penny in its place. Okay, so you're going to kind of place a value on it, and you're going to try to kind of trade for an equal value or leave something of a little greater value than what you took, okay? It's just good etiquette. It keeps the game fun for everybody. Keep that in mind when you're trading swag. Another thing that you need to keep in mind, no food goes into a geocache, okay? Do not put any food in a geocache. Do not put any medicine, okay? No cough drops, no candy, nothing like that. Food attracts animals, attracts ants, it attracts mice. It gets moldy and nasty, even candy. If you have a hard candy, or I have found cough drops in them, it gets moisture in the geocache because it wasn't sealed right by the last person, and they get all gummy and melty, and it makes everything nasty in there, and that's no fun for anybody to find. No food, no candy, no medicines, okay? Nothing dangerous. I'm talking to you adults. Don't put any of the stuff that is not family friendly, that is not kid friendly, into a geocache, okay? And then one thing I recommend, because you can find these cute little small stuffed animals at places. If you're going to put something that's like a soft cloth item, or like stickers, like a little booklet or packet of stickers, I recommend you put those in a small Ziploc bag to help keep them dry if the cache gets damp, because otherwise it's going to get all nasty. If it's a cloth thing, it could get moldy. If it's paper, it can get ruined. So keep that in mind if you're hiding something that is a soft material or a paper material for your swag, okay? So there's all kinds of things to know about geocaching. I've touched on the basics of it, and there's probably some basics that I missed, if I'm being honest with you. But the good news is there's a lot of material out there for you to consume. There's all kinds of blogs. There's all kinds of YouTube channels. Geocaching.com/help has some good articles if you're starting out. So start there first if you're new to geocaching. YouTube has some pretty amazing videos. There's a lot of great YouTubers that find geocaches. The geocaching vlogger, he is amazing. He's got great energy. He will find some really amazing caches. Geocaching with Hellmeister is another one I recommend. Geocaching Granger, Grainger. Sir Drumalot the Geocacher. The Aussie Geocacher, Cache the Line. Those are all ones that I enjoy watching. Okay, there's Behind the Cache, which is really great about cache builds and what went into creating the cache. There's all kinds of great YouTube channels out there about geocaching. But you need to keep this in mind when you're watching those. Okay, those guys and gals who have these YouTube channels for geocaching are trying to get views, okay? So they're going to show you the coolest geocaches and the coolest locations, which is awesome, okay? It gives me some, goals, okay? Geocaching goals. I want to go see that day. Not all of them are like that, okay? So if you start out watching these really amazing videos and then you go find a geocache under a lamppost skirt, the expectations may not be the same if you're expecting what you see in those videos every single time you find a geocache. There are some truly amazing geocaches out there. Not all of them are like that, though, okay? Some people don't necessarily want to spend the time trying to get to this amazing location if they've got to do a 5-mile hike. There are some people out there that just want to get the numbers, okay? And that's what park and grabs are for. That's what lamppost caches are for. It's a quick grab. It's a numbers ad, okay? Those are also great for when they have souvenirs for special days. If you just want to get a souvenir for, Blue Switch Day, and it is pouring down rain in your area, you're going to be really grateful you can just go grab a lamppost cache really quickly instead of having to worry about that 5-mile hike in a storm. So they have their places. Some people absolutely love lamppost caches, and that is their favorite cache in the world. To each their own. There is a cache out there for every type of cacher. If you're new to geocaching, you're just going to have to figure out what type of cacher you are. So just know, tons of different YouTube channels, a whole lot more than the ones I mentioned there. Geocaching.com even has their own accounts on social media that'll show you some really great geocaching finds out there. And they're well worth watching because they're so cool. Just don't expect every single geocache you find to be like those. But they can give you ones that, hey, I'm going to be in that area. The geocaching vlogger had a really cool geocache in this area. I'm going to look that up and see if I can go find it while I'm there. So you can do that. I have done that myself, actually. Just keep in mind, don't let the YouTube videos necessarily set your expectations for what you're going to find. But there are also some great geocaching 101, we'll call them, videos. If you've never done a night cache before, there's some how to do a night cache videos. If you've never hidden a geocache before, there are videos about how to hide a geocache. There are some great tutorial videos out there by these vloggers and others. So definitely check them out. And like I said, blogs, there's a lot of people that will write and post about their geocaching adventures. And it'll be their experiences, and it can be something to help you learn about geocaching, or you may just find it entertaining. So definitely check them out, okay? And remember, Google is your friend with geocaching, whether it's trying to solve a puzzle cache, trying to find resources, trying to figure out what an acronym is. A lot of times, if you Google it, make sure you put geocaching in there because that'll help you narrow it down. So if I want to know what a favorite point is, I would type in geocaching favorite point. It'll pull it up right away and help me find the information that I need. I may have to go through a couple of sites to find the right one. Keep in mind when you're looking at online sources, is the source credible, that sort of thing. The wiki fandom, there's actually a geocaching wiki fandom that I have actually found a lot of useful information on. Just keep in mind, it is still a wiki and can be edited by a lot of people. Anybody can post anything online. Keep that in mind when you're trying to find a good, credible source. Geocaching.com will always be a good, credible source for finding information. There's the official geocaching blog by the geocaching headquarters. There's a ton of geocaching podcasts out there that will have great information for you on different geocaching topics. So that's another great resource that you can check out. So we're going to call that a wrap for today. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of resources. The best advice I can give you, though, in addition to everything here that we've talked about, try different types of caches. If you're new, you haven't really figured out what your geocaching type is, or even if you've been doing this for years, try something different because you might find something that you absolutely love that you didn't think you would. If you can get some friends to geocache with you, geocaching with friends or family is great. Geocaching solo can be just as fun. There's a geocache for every type of geocacher out there. And when you're ready, there are resources to help you with your first hide. Okay? And I recommend you hide the type of geocache you want to find. Alright? That's all for today. I hope everybody is staying safe and having a good time. If anybody else has a topic that they would like to hear about, you can email me at geocache.adventures.podcast@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram or Facebook at Geocache Adventures, or get on the geocaching app and message me, Shadow Dragon 1. And you may just hear your topic on the podcast. Or if you want to be a guest, I'm hoping to start doing guest interviews again soon. Mix it up in here. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate you spending your time with me today. Take care, everybody.